Welcome to another edition of Interruptions. I'm your host, Otis Smith. Today, my guest is one of the founding members of the group NWA. A mega producer also brought you the beat, the song Supersonic by JJ FAD. I'm talking no other than one of the original OGs of this rap game. I'm talking no other than the Arabian Prince. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Just sitting over here in the lab, man, doing all kind of stuff, man,
I
remodeling and all
see.
that. But we good.
Well, you
Yes,
got a
sir.
lot of equipment there.
Hey, man, you got to do that. You're gonna make some hits, and I'm into gaming and tech and computers. So I'm doing a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, you doing your thing, man. I've been keeping up with you. You doing your thing, and you're doing it strong, man. You one of the you're one of the examples of how people should evolve. You know, you
Yes, sir.
can't you can't keep being that guy you were, back in the day.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to start from the beginning. What influenced you to get into hip hop? How did that come about? Where you said, "Hey, I like hip hop, and I want to get in it."
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy, man, because I became a DJ. I say honestly, out of necessity, because I was an only
Okay.
child growing up in Compton, and my moms didn't want me out in the streets, and my uncles and cousins was the crazy fools causing all the trouble in the streets anyway. So she didn't want me growing up like them because that's who I idolized. Like they
Right.
was getting in trouble every day. So she kept me in the crib, man, like messing around with stuff, man. I got to play with, synthesizers and ham radios, all these things that my uncles and cousins had.
Oh
And
wow.
then I wanted to be a DJ because, and this is why I say necessity,
Okay.
because she didn't want me to go to the parties by myself,
Oh
right?
wow.
And she didn't trust my homeboy. She's like, I ain't gonna let you go to the party with them. So I was like, you know what? If I'm the DJ, I'm
Right.
the first person at the party, the
Right.
last one to leave. My mom's bringing me, and ain't nobody laughing at me because I got to bring my gear, my equipment, and all of that. So I became the DJ in the hood, and bam, next thing you know, I'm DJing, hanging out with Dre, hanging out with Egyptian Lover, Uncle Jam's Army, all of that stuff in the 80s.
Right.
And right around that time, man, we were bringing in the early rappers from New York and other places to
Right.
LA to perform. And what we realized was like, man, we could do that, you know? And I was with Egyptian Lover in his garage one day. He just bought an 808, with Uncle Jam's Army. And they were like, man, we going in a studio to do a record. Then I was
Okay.
talking to Dre and Lonzo, and they was like at the record crew, it's like, man, we going in the studio to do the record. And I was like, I want to go in the studio and do a record.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saved up some money, man, and just went in the studio and dropped the song.
Wow. That's so you were already multitasking from working with Egyptian Lover, because I still remember that song. We used to pop and lock off that Egyptian
Yeah.
Lover.
Yeah.
and,
For sure.
and so you were doing that, and then working with him, and then you had Dr. Dre and Alonzo, and you was getting ready to form the world class
World class wrecking crew.
crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And they were doing that. And I really didn't have a crew. I was just down with everybody because I was a young kid that was like the little tech kid that showed people how to set up their gear and their turntables and all of
Wow.
that. So when they went in the studio, I'm like, man, I ain't got nobody to go in the studio with. So I saved some money.
Okay.
And then I was working at this pet store in the hood at the time in Lenox. And the dude who owned the pet store, I used to DJ at the weekend at this community center. We called it the Cave. So it was like a club that we had in the
Okay.
hood. And he's like, man, I'm gonna give you $500 to go in the studio. So I had $1,000, went into the
Wow.
studio, and came out with my first record.
Wow. That's amazing though, cause you know what, you did something ingenious, man, where you said, "Okay, I'm a DJ, so if my mom drops me off and pick me up, you can't laugh because like, oh
You
yeah,
can't laugh.
his mom had to
Yeah,
bring him, and he got the gear, and oh,
yeah, man.
oh man,
I
that's
figured
sweet.
it out.
That's sweet right there, dog. That's for thinking.
Yes, sir.
So once you guys formed, you got with Dre, and you guys started forming NWA. I was always curious, how did you, Yella, and Dre form that production team? What was the components of the production that you guys were giving to NWA?
Yeah, so we was all homies anyway, and we already worked together for years, me, Dre, and Yella and stuff. And when we got with Easy to do NWA, it wasn't even like we sat down and was like, all right, we're gonna start this new group. We were just
Right.
messing around at first,
Okay.
and it just happened. And I had gear, Dre had some gear, and we just kind of put all of our equipment together to create this sound. And the funny thing is, I tell people, nobody really talks about this. If you listen to the first NWA stuff, right, and
Mm-hmm.
even maybe a little bit straight out of Compton, you hear the same drums that you heard in like the Wrecking Crew stuff, or the same drums that you heard in my stuff, or in JJ FAD Supersonic, because I had an 808. And we the same stuff that we used earlier, we used on the early NWA joints. You know what I mean? So it all kind of worked out.
I can hear. It's funny you say it's two songs that come to mind. So the first one is "Turn Out the Lights."
Yep.
You
Yeah.
end up using it with NWA
Yeah.
and Supersonic. The Straight Outta Compton album. I think it was the last song on the track. I mean on
Yeah.
the album that
Yeah.
they said because they was like Arabian Prince. They
Yeah.
would say, yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel you. Yeah.
Yo, and the reason we did a couple dance songs on the NWA joints, because people was trying to figure out why, is because that's where we came from. Me and Dre had come from doing that kind of music before, and we knew the radio wasn't gonna play NWA because it
Right.
was like too hardcore for radio. So we dropped one dance cut on each album just to let people know we got something out there and go get the album, you know.
Hey man, but I like the way you guys came off with it because y'all even had Easy said, "Hey, he said, let's get out of here," and he was like, "What? You want to leave with all these
Yeah,
females
yeah.
pulling on my sleeve? What?"
Yeah, it was just like a party cut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what that allowed guys who were trying to, and I know you saw it from when the music when you guys put your music out, guys were trying to adopt you guys identity from trying to be hardcore. And what
right.
you guys was letting know with the fast cut, the dance music, like, dude, it's cool to be at the party. It's cool to dance with the female dog. You ain't got to be hard 24/7.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you guys pulled that off beautifully, man. Um, in the production, when you guys were producing, how did you? I mean, how did you guys come up with like who's? If you want to say take the lead on a particular song, far as when you guys are producing it and mixing it all down, was it like okay, he's got the particular sound for this song, or how did that work?
Man, like I said, it just happened, dude. Like we
Okay,
was just in there, like we didn't know what we were coming up with when we were doing it.
okay,
And it was a new sound, it was a new style, and everybody, did their part. And some of the stuff was fire. Eh, We had whack shit too that we never put out, because
right,
I tell people this, and this is something that the younger generation or the up and coming producers really, really need to listen to. And I'm always very serious about this. I
okay,
teach a music business class, well, before the pandemic at Point Blank Music Academy. And what
okay,
I would tell my students is this: don't set your expectations too high on what you're doing. In other words, don't be like, yeah, I'm going in the studio and make an album, and you do 11 songs, my album's done. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like,
okay,
don't fall in love with all your music and say, I did 11 songs, that's my album. Because probably 8 of those songs is booty. You know what I'm
gotcha,
saying?
gotcha.
You really got to like be honest with yourself as an artist and
Hmm.
go, you know what? Even though I made this song, this ain't it. And try to
Okay,
put 10, 11, 12 heaters on your album if you can. It may take you longer. You may have to spend more money
okay,
or to do it right. But how many classic albums are there out there? It ain't a lot, because a lot of people don't follow that formula to where you go, man, there's like 5, 6, 7 joints on here. Mostly it's one or two. The rest
right.
is throwaway stuff. So you really got to not fall in love with your music, man, and just get it right. And that's what we did. There's a lot of stuff that we did that was like, nah, let's do something else. and we just did that until we got an album that was fire.
Yeah, the DOC told me that. He said, and I'm sure this might have been the same way with you guys in the production. It's like when you guys were working, it's like you got to come with your heat. Like
Yeah,
you didn't have time to. He said you didn't have time to warm up. Like, all right, let me give you this. What y'all think? Nah, bring your heat or don't bring nothing. Like
yeah,
he said, it was fierce competition.
yeah. You had to get it done, man, and get it done right, because it was like we was hungry back then, man. It wasn't like we
Mm,
had unlimited cash flow to do it early on,
hmm
so we had to get it done and get something out so we could eat and blow up and do some right.
When you did Supersonic, was that were you trying to come up with a dance, or is that something that just organically, happened?
Yeah, that was organic, man, because we weren't even supposed to do a song. I was working on Professor X music, some of my other joints,
Okay.
and the girls was just in the studio with me, and they was like, "We want to do something," and I had like 4 or 5 hours of studio time left over, so
Okay.
we did Another Hoe Bites the Dust and
Right.
Supersonic,
Right.
and Another Hoe Bites the Dust was actually the A side of the single, but
Wow.
everybody was playing Supersonic,
Supersonic.
so we had to go back and make that a single, and that's when it blew up.
So it goes back to what you were just saying, is that when you don't take yourself seriously, because you could have been like, no, no, this is the A side. This is
Yeah,
what y'all need to release,
right.
and that's you went more so off what the people was feeling first.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, and for what the girls were, how they sounded, I thought they worked better with party music as opposed to like dissing New York female rappers at the time. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So tell me about Innovate Next.
Yeah. So that is something, and we have actually two companies. We got Innovate Next and we got Incubate Next.
Okay.
And both of those companies were built to help the inner cities, to help inner city kids learn about technology, to
Wow.
help
Okay.
inner city startups,
Mm-hmm.
people who don't have access to learn about technology or to build companies and things like that. So that's what we built those companies for. And we've expanded it to gaming, we've expanded it to coding, and now we're expanding it to animation. So we're going across the board to kind of show people like us
Right.
that y'all can do the same stuff that everybody else is doing who got privileged, who got to schools with all the computers and stuff. We bringing that to the hood. So yeah.
Man, I commend you for that, because I always say we play the games,
Yeah.
but we never try to figure out how to design, to
Nah, we
create.
play the games.
Uh,
We spend the money on we spend the money on the games. We spend the money on the merchandise. We spend all the money, but we don't reap the benefits.
well,
Yeah.
read the bit. So that's why I say I commend you for that. Like I used to tell my nephew, I said, "Hey man, I'm not trying to stop you from playing the Xbox or the PS5 or whatever. What you need to probably figure out is how does this game work.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how was it created. You need to see what you can come with, as not just the game but the console that the
Yeah.
game plays off of. I said, because like you said, around anytime those games drop, it's us mostly in the stores, right? Trying to you got people
Trying to
buying
get
them,
it.
and then trying to sell them more than what they worth, but we don't even know how it works.
Yeah.
So
And not to cut you off, I'm gonna
no,
give
go
you a
ahead,
little
man.
secret sauce to
Hmm.
put out there, man. Any kid out there, or this ain't a message to the kids, because the kids probably already know. To the
Sure.
parents and the teachers and
Hmm.
everybody else, if you got a kid that's really into gaming, and you call him a loser, he's all he want to do is play video game. He don't want to go to school.
Hmm.
He ain't gonna ever go to college. I tell them this: there are more jobs in gaming right now than any other thing out there. If you got a kid that's all he's thinking about is gaming, go get him a gaming testing job. They need game testers, and game testers make anywhere they start at 50, 60 G's a year, up to
Ooh.
100, 120 G's because you got to test games. All they do is play games all day. So if he's sitting at home playing games for free, go get him a job and let him make money playing games. You know what I'm saying? And next thing you know, they hire from within. So you start out as a game tester, you move up to like an associate, a
Hmm.
lead. Next thing you know, you're a producer. I got buddies that I work with back in the day. that's making $1 million, like producing Call of Duty, and they started as game testers.
See, that's what I'm talking about, man. We got to learn. I've got two grandsons, and it's funny how people like, oh, I know you're gonna have them, at the park playing ball and all that. I said, and there's nothing wrong with that. They can do
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I want whatever they want to do is what I want to push them towards. And so sometimes, like you said, what you just mentioned about the game, see, I didn't even know that, far as making money, far as off of testing the games, playing the game and testing them.
right.
And what we need to do as a previous generation is start to understand other things that's out there that our kids can gravitate to push them towards that versus trying to push them to something that they have no interest in.
Yep,
So I appreciate that, man.
one
um
thousand.
so how did that come about, you getting involved in the technical side, 3D imagery, and the gaming, everything that you're involved with?
Yeah, so that was an easy one too. So when I was, first, I think when I got my first check, man, from
Hmm.
making records, I was really, really intrigued by the early video games. Like we was messing with the Coleco, handheld Coleco with
Yeah,
the little
yeah,
dots, the
yeah,
football and
yeah.
all of that. And we would go to the mall and go to the arcades and
Okay.
spend tons of money. So I would watch fools that used to party, drink, smoke, all of that. When gaming got hot, these fools was like on that, like crack. So I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
man, I need to learn about this because the whole thing changed. Everybody was wanting to play games. And I was like, I need to learn this. So I taught myself how to code, taught myself how to do sprite animation in the late 80s. I even had one of the first before the internet, like proper, what internet is today.
Right.
And I don't know how old you are, but you used to have to dial into the internet, right?
Yes. Yep.
Right. It had modems and
Had the
there
modem.
was
Yeah.
no internet like we know it. And they had things called BBSs, so bulletin boards. So if
Hmm.
somebody wanted to communicate with somebody, you had to go to this bulletin board that had a theme. And I had one called the Game Syndicate. So people would come
Okay.
to my bulletin board and chat with each other about games. And I had a couple of little sprite games I had built where you could play games. And
Okay.
that's how I started. And then I got into animation and got lucky enough to do visual effects on the first series of the Power Rangers. I did Silver Surfer, Adam's Family, Casper, the
Wow.
movie Contact, worked on Independence Day, worked on a lot of stuff. And then I got into gaming and worked on probably 100 games for Fox Interactive, Vindy Universal, and a couple other companies, man. So I've been in it for a minute.
Oh, wow. Well, let me go and put this out here right quick for you. I'm just gonna go and put it out there. For all you thought that Arabian Prince fell off, you mistakenly, sadly
Oh, you
mistaken.
really mistaken. Hey, I went down a rabbit hole. I tell
uh,
people, man, I'm like the Willy Wonka of this thing, man. Like I never really was tripping on the fame of it, like a music. I
right.
did it because I'm creative and I like to innovate. But when I got into this other side, I found out the difference between music and entertainment, especially like animation and video games, is they pay you real money checks. Like, we want to get this done. Here you go. Here's $100,000 to do this animation. We're on the music side. You got to go fight for your money most of the time from these record companies.
Right.
So
They
yeah,
playing around.
yeah. So I went and got the real money.
So yeah, and that's why I wanted to put that out there because I saw a couple of interviews that you've done and just things, and I know people always wanted to talk about with you, with NWA and like with the movie, and like, man, why they ain't mention you, and why they this is it, and not understanding, and you should have been mentioned. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but you're so past. You don't stay in the past. I mean, it's
right.
part of your story. It's part of your history, but you don't have to stay living there because you're already doing something now.
Yeah,
You've been doing it, and so I commend you for that. And you don't have to. I always tell people, man, you got to tell everybody what you're doing. Just do what you're doing, and eventually let them catch up.
yeah, for sure. And even what I do in the inner cities, man, I don't have to talk about it. I just want to get it done, and it's just that's what it is.
What you say? They're gonna cut them real checks. You ain't got to fight.
Hey, you because I'm gonna tell you, dude, I was doing for those out there who know what render farms are, like when you render in 3D animation, you need a bunch of computers. I
Okay.
had render farms in my living room, man, rendering all the animation for Fox Kids Saturday morning cartoons. And they was paying me
Wow.
big money just to render that stuff. And I'm like, this is where the game is right here, getting paid to not really do much, you know what I mean, but just have the access so other people come to you to get stuff done. So yeah, man.
You know what'll be dope, man, is because I know an athlete, and I know this particular athlete want to tell stories. And the first thing I said to him, I said, "Man, you know what? You could tell your stories through cartoon or 3D imaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the kids, and that would last longer even than a documentary." And I said
Oh
you
yeah.
can, and I said you can have ownership of it, and then because everything these kids they're born into streaming, they're born into this stuff. So I always tell my wife, I said, well, one of the reasons our grandson can work an iPad so easily, I said he was born into it.
He was born into it. It's a world.
It's
Yeah.
their world. So they're not going to necessarily watch everything that will be on TV. It's going to come off the cell phone, then the iPad and stuff. So I was telling the athlete, I said, you need to get with a company that can do the cartoonish and the 3D imagery for you and let you tell your stories that way. You remember kind of sort of how when you and I was growing up and we was watching like the Fat Albert. So we're
Yeah.
watching the cartoon, but it had a message
Yeah.
behind, and that stuff stays with you even when you're grown versus something quote unquote on the news.
Oh yeah. Or I know you remember Conjunction Junction and I'm
Watch
Just a
out! Watch.
Bill. Man, I ain't give a crap about the Constitution, but I know every word of that sucker just
So,
from watching that over and over. Right?
you
Hey, I
right.
can, I can sing every part of that thing still to this day in my old ass.
You might need to go on and remix that thing.
Dude, I thought about that and I still might do it, man. Also tell your athlete homie to
uh,
holler because I got
yeah,
something really, really crazy coming. I can't really mention it,
sure, sure.
but it just puts you this way. Me,
Hmm.
another Hall of Fame rapper, matter of fact, two other Hall of Fame rappers.
Okay.
Matter of fact, five Hall of Fame. We about to, there's something big coming. We starting a new
Right.
animation company, is all I can say. And we
Okay.
got a bunch of heaters and we about to like take over urban like animation, urban live action. We about to bring a bunch of productions in the next year. So
All right. Well, hey, one of the stories, and I'll throw this at you. I only have a couple more questions for you, but let me just throw this at you as a sidebar. One of the stories you could tell through animation is for the kids to get our history right.
oh hell yeah. No kidding, because I don't think none of them know.
They don't know because you remember when you and I was coming up, at a certain point they would stop you. It's like, okay, you can't write about Martin Luther King anymore.
Yeah,
You stop. You had to go find. You had to go dig.
yeah,
Now they start and end with Martin Luther King, so the kids don't think nobody else did anything.
yeah. You're right.
So
You are so right.
that'll be dope, man. How does your background in music serve you with what you're doing now with the tech side of everything that you're doing?
Yeah, well, it definitely made me a businessman because, like I told you earlier, man,
Hmm.
music business was rough. Like, like I tell people this, man, you gotta understand the fundamental words in what it is.
Okay.
Music, business,
Business.
right?
Hmm.
Entertainment, business.
Business.
The problem is everybody wants to do the music,
Okay.
wants to do the entertainment, but they don't want to take care of their business. If you take care of your business first, you're guaranteeing yourself you're going to get paid. If you do the music first, you're not always going to get paid,
Hey.
right? And I tell people this, I tell my students, I says, all right, who in here wants to be famous, right?
Uh-huh.
70%, maybe 75% raise their hand. A few people don't really care about fame, right?
Hmm.
Who in here wants to be successful? 100% raise their hands. So it's
Okay.
a fundamental difference between success and fame. And people get it twisted
Yep.
and want to really get into the music fame instead of the music business.
Business.
Make sure you take care of your business.
It's funny you say that because I remember interviewing Paul Anthony uh, uh, from Full Force.
Yeah,
And I said, man, you know what? I said, something interesting. I've never heard you guys ever had a bad deal.
yeah.
And he said, we never did. He said, because what people don't know, he said, I have a bachelor's in business.
There you go.
so so everything that they did far as from their, full force or the production side, that they were doing for everybody else, the writing and they weren't getting cheated because like you said, they handled their
They
business
handle their business.
so they could be successful because like you said, being in front, you're gonna have a shelf life anyway.
Right.
So how do you start to get you need to know the business because you can eat off something. I tell people, I said, man, look at tag team, man. They still eating. Oh my god.
Hey, look at JJ Fad. Look at my boy Sir
JJ
Mix a
Fad.
lot. Every time
Oh
I
man,
see a
Sir
new
Mix a
commercial with Sir
lot.
Mix, I call Mix. I'll be like, "Hey man, I hate you. I'm hating you again." Matter of fact, I'm gonna put this on repeat because I know next month I'm gonna see another damn commercial with Baby Got Back in it.
But
You
did
know?
you know what's so funny? That's not even my favorite song by him. My favorite song was, I think it was his second single, which was
Okay.
Beepers.
Yeah, Beepers. Well,
Yeah.
I think he's probably made more money off of Swass
Okay.
because
Okay.
Swass was the Pussycat Dolls, don't you?
Yep. 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 Yep.
So one of his songs that wasn't even like one of his best records. And that's why I tell people if you got your publishing taken care of and your copyrights and all of that, somebody gonna use, man. I got one of my old joints from the electro days. What was it?
Uh-huh.
What was it? Innovator. My song Innovator, right?
Okay. Right.
I got hit up years ago. Some production companies like, we want to put this in something. All right, go ahead. Right. They gave me the contract, I get paid. It was remember Everybody Hates Chris?
Yep.
They put it in the episode. I was like, all right, I still get paid to this day from that.
See, you know what? I'm gonna love to have you back on, man, and maybe get either Patrice Russian or Paul Anthony,
Yeah,
and just interview you guys where you guys could talk about the business side. So
yeah,
when we
set it up.
put it
I'm
up,
all
yeah.
in.
My final question for you. Oh no, I got two more questions. I'm sorry, but the next to the last is when you first started in music, who were you as a person, and who are you now?
Um, so I'll tell you this,
Uh,
and I don't try to be who I ain't. And I
right.
know all the people that's out there trying to like act like they wasn't who they were back then. I know
Hmm.
because I seen them, right? I say this in the 80s. In the 80s, you either
Uh,
look like Prince, Michael
yeah.
Jackson, or like you was a pot locker, you was a break dancer, you was a mod. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you was dressing like something back then. You look like
Yep.
flock of seagulls, oingo boingo. You know, wasn't nobody just dressing. Even the gangbangers was wearing like Michael Jackson jackets back then.
Yep.
So I was like this crazy kid that was influenced by three things:
Hmm.
Prince, Parliament Funkadelic, and Kraftwerk. That was me.
Woo.
I was that's my
Eclectic.
influence. That's all my music was based off of Prince, Parliament Funkadelic, and Kraftwerk. And even when I roll to this day, that's pretty much all I listen to when I'm rolling, right?
Okay.
And I think I'm the same person. I'm just wiser. Like I keep going back to wiser with business. And I understand now, and something I'm gonna say this too.
Okay.
You are to any artist out there, any producer, anybody
Hmm.
trying to make it, you got to realize that you're just not an artist, you're just not an individual. You are a company, you are a brand. You are worth, no one can do what you do without you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but everybody signs you and takes your money. But if you stop doing for other people and do for yourself, you'll be successful. So just understand that you are a company and a brand and you can be successful. And that's what I think I learned growing up.
Gotcha.
But I think I'm really the same person, man. I ain't really changed at all.
No, you evolved, man, because like I said, with the whole what you're doing with the tech and stuff, and not
But you got to
saying
remember, I was
uh,
doing that back then. I was doing that in 83, 84. So it was just quiet because there wasn't no internet to talk about it. So I've been doing the same thing.
that's true, that's true.
Yeah,
And but like you said, you didn't. Not saying that you were seeking fame back then. I guess for us, and people that will see this will see that will be happy to see we feel where you evolved to far as I remember DOC said at one point, because I asked him, I said, how does it feel to now we getting the acknowledgement of people understanding you were a dope lyricist as well
right.
I mean as a rapper, but because of the different people you've written for or showed different things, to get the credit. And he said to me, he said, it's a God thing now, not a me thing. And
Yeah, yeah,
to see, when you evolve, and we're supposed to evolve, is what I'm saying. We're supposed to,
yeah.
as we get older, and like you said, wiser. So I appreciate that word, wiser. And so my final question for you is, what's most important to Arabian Prince now?
Man, giving back to the inner cities. You know what I mean? Teaching this next generation of kids what's in their grasp. Because one thing that a lot of them forget and take for granted is you walking around with a full blown computer in your pocket. Like when we was young, I had to go
Right.
read books. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? I had to ask other people information. Now I can go watch this. I'm gonna show you how dope it is in the world we live in. Okay, Google,
Yep.
what's up?
See.
You know what I'm saying? I could talk to a freaking speaker and they'll tell me anything I want to know. I can go on YouTube. I can go on Facebook. I can go on Instagram. I can go on any platform. And no matter what I want to do in life, I can figure it out. Like, for instance, I wanted to learn how to 3D print. As you could tell, I love SpongeBob. I just like collecting SpongeBob stuff, right?
Gotcha.
So I bought me a 3D printer, went on YouTube and figured out how to use it. Now I 3D print. Now I prototype.
Wow.
Everything I wanted to do, I can figure it out. So if I can figure it out in my old ass, these young kids should be way ahead of the game. Just like you said, little 4-year-old kids already know how to work an iPad. So stop teaching your 4-year-old kid as a 4-year-old kid. Say, okay, I got him. He's already interested in tech. Let me figure out how to accelerate his growth and his knowledge to prepare him for life because technology moves every 3 to 5 years now. So when he turns 10 or 15, he'll be way ahead of the game and can get a job like this. These 14, 15-year-olds are millionaires already, you know?
Yeah. Let me, and that was my final question, but just based off what you said, let me ask you this: do you think we should, the way schools teach mathematics, right? And like you said, the way a young mind absorb, because they don't know anything else at that point, but just to absorb it, take it, right?
Right.
So when we're teaching, the basics, ABCs, one, two, threes, then you go from adding, subtracting, multiplication, dividing, right? Shouldn't we just go ahead and just get into the algebra, the geometry, because now their brain is at a point it'll take it, and
Yeah.
I feel like the way we teach math is like they'll stop at a certain point, and then your brain is saying, okay, math is over here,
There you go.
letters are over here. Then when you get to high school, and boom, somebody throw algebra at you, you're like, hold up, this don't make no sense. What you talking about? X, Y? What is?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You got to do it all when you're young. And I think, too, we have to rewrite curriculums, right? We got
Hmm.
to look at what doesn't work, what's not needed. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, I remember, and you probably remember too, I was trying to
Mm.
figure out later on in life, I look back and say, why did I take so much history? American history. You could teach me American history in 2 years,
Yep.
all of it. But they spread, like you said, they spread everything out. They spread math out. You could probably teach me all of math in a couple years, right? Teach me all of math when I'm young. And when I get to junior high school, get me into something that's going to get me paid.
The reason I asked you that question about you being a tech guy is because an Asian guy told me that's why Asians are so good at math. They keep absorbing it while they're young. He
Yeah,
said, so when they come over here to the United States, right, and go to college, he said the only thing they're trying to learn is our history.
yeah,
Like they say, if you go on any college campus, the most relaxed people are Asian people.
yeah, because they already know it all.
Yeah,
Them and the and no, no, I'm not, being racist, but them
right.
and the Indian, like from India, same
Yeah,
thing. They teach them really young,
yeah.
all of that.
And we running around here in America, we panicking. Oh man, I got these finals, man. I got
Yeah.
well,
You're
man, I
right.
appreciate you coming on the
Hey man,
show.
appreciate this. This is
Bless it
fun,
on your
man. I
present.
appreciate it.
I will reach back out to you because I do want to kind of set that up where you guys can break down more of the for those who wants to get into the music business, like you said, and start breaking that down and give them little nuggets that they need to know. So I'm gonna reach back out to you and try to set that up. I think you and like I said, some of the others I named. So man, continue much success. Continue to stay blessed and stay safe out there.
I appreciate you, sir. You be safe as well. Peace.
All right, peace.